Hey guys, it's Stein here with HobbiesofaMan. Once again, today we're doing another ThunderCats review. Today we're looking at ThunderCats number 15. This cover has nothing to do with what happens inside the book. It would have been nice to see Lion-O and Apex in, Lucio Perio style, but they gave us the monkey instead. This is by Declan Shalvey. Actually, Joe Mulvey is the artist here, and then Deborah Kelly is the colorist. And so this is a slightly different team from usual, but I think that this is good because the last time the editing was pretty bad, although the story was fine. This time, I think that the story is not great, but everything else about this is good. Like, the concept of it is good. The fact that this is an interlude into the next story arc is good. The fact that, we follow Lion-O and we get to see him grow as an individual by himself, right? This is kind of the moment in the hero's journey when he's separated from everyone, right? And he meets it's kind of out of order, right? But Apex, in this case, happens to be the wizard character to Lion-O's farm boy, right? Or maybe the Merlin to his Arthur. And they meet, they have a struggle, and then they align their forces to a common goal, right? And I like that. I think this is good. It's an interesting way to deal with the fact that Lion-O was a child and now is an adult. He has to grow into his command, right? He has not had that opportunity. They had been trying to get him there. He had been gaining in maturity, but not enough, right? And so now that he's separated, now that he's alone, and he has his old version of himself to lean on, he'll be able to kind of modify that quickly, right? And develop that ability faster than he would have otherwise, right? Which is a really interesting lean, and I actually appreciate that. I think it's cool. But it also feels kind of superfluous. We've only had one issue of real story in between multiple issues of like side stories and character development moments, right? And the Snarf one just sucked. Like, as an individual issue, I might like that. I think that, it's fun to have a Snarf adventure, right? But I didn't like that I had to pay $5 for it, if that makes sense. That feels almost like it should have been a backup story within the last couple issues of ThunderCats, right? But this one is, comparatively quite good. So Lion-O escaped. We saw that at the end of the last issue. He escaped from Mumra's sarcophagus. He ends up in an icy landscape. He manages to survive a battle with this massive, nasty beetle thing. And then he kind of does a Star Wars thing where he lays inside of it to develop, to use its body heat to survive the night, right? And so he does. And then we see weeks go by. He gets a new haircut. It's pretty cool. And then he arrives at a new location. He fights these rockmen and gargoyles, and then, a bunch of other kind of concepts like that. And he's found by Apex eventually. They battle. He loses. Then he wins. Then they meet properly. They explain who they are to each other. Apex is like, I will teach you so that you don't become me. Let's go, right? And they walk off into the sunset, hopefully to learn a lot of value, to develop Lion-O's ability to be in charge, right? And it was a good story. It was enjoyable. But the fact that issue 13 was a side story, this is a side story. I guess this is technically the main story, but I don't necessarily like the ThunderCats being separate. I want them all together, and I want them to be well balanced. And I think that in the comic book format, maybe that's not possible because the amount of storytelling is so minimal, right, per issue. And so the further and further we get through this story, the more I think it might be better for me to trade weight. And I don't think that that is a great situation to put your readers in, right? So I like Declan Shalvey's style. Drew Moss is not my favorite artist. Joe Mulvey is pretty good. And, I don't necessarily have a problem with the way the art is being made. I think it's a problem with the delivery, right? It almost feels like these are better as trades, which, there is kind of a trade-off here. Like, do you want each individual issue to be good, or do you want each trade to be good? And I think that the aim should be both. And generally, I think that Declan Shalvey does a good job at balancing that. I just feel that in the last couple weeks, or in the last couple months, I guess, I've been finding myself kind of grating at the fact that I'm paying so much for these stories when they don't necessarily feel as valuable as they should, right? And I think that that's just an issue with Dynamite. I feel like these complaints I have usually only happen with Dynamite series. So, I don't know. What do you guys think about the ThunderCats series? What are your thoughts on that so far? Let me know that in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys later.